Hey everyone, today I'm going to teach you about order of operations. So first things first, go ahead and write down the title of this lesson, as well as today's date, as well as the learning goal at the top of your page. Pause for a minute if you need time to do that. So your learning goal is that I can use order of operations to evaluate expressions. So just a reminder, order of operations, the mnemonic that you've learned for that is PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. This is probably Sally here. So some of you might have learned other ways to say this, but I'm just going to use please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So here you can see on this page that it's color-coded. Now you should have already taken a minute to solve this problem here at the top. That was your warm-up question. So now let's go through it real quick. So the first thing you're going to do is look at the P, the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, you've got addition and subtraction. So addition and subtraction actually go together. So when you see addition and subtraction, you just go left to right. You could end up doing subtraction before you do addition, just depends on which one is to the left and right. And same with multiplication and division. So those two go together. So you just work from left to right when you see multiplication and division. Okay, so this stuff in parentheses becomes 8, and then you work in the brackets. So 6 times the parentheses turns into multiplication. 6 times 8 is 48. So this turns into 48. Okay, and so next, there are no exponents, so you would work with multiplication and division. And like I said, you work from left to right. So even though it goes division first and then multiplication, you still do the division first. So 48 divided by 8 is 6, and then do the 6 times 2 is 12, and then last 3 plus 12, that's the last thing to do, is 15. Okay, so don't be tempted to do this, add in the 3 at the beginning because it's the first one on the left. Order of operations is not always like reading a book. Okay, you do parentheses first, exponents, and then you know the rest. So let's do some more examples. So we're actually just going to do the correct version here. You don't have to copy down this table. All you need to copy down is the original expression, and maybe title this example 1 and then A. So we're working on example 1A. So here please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I'm going to write that at the top just to remind ourselves. There are no parentheses, but there are exponents. So you would do the exponent first. So write down everything else. And then the exponent 3 squared would be 9. Okay, and then next would be multiplication and division. So go from left to right. 27 divided by 9 would be 3. 3 times 2 is 6. And then do the last operation. 6 minus 3 is 3. So your final answer is 3. Okay, for part B, there are no parentheses, so you do exponents first. So 3 squared would be 9. So I'll write 2 times 9 plus 4, and then do multiplication. That would be 18, and then plus 4 would be 22. So hopefully this process is very familiar to you. This is just a review concept from pre-algebra. Okay, so for the next one, it's very tempting to do the 15 first, or maybe you'll do 6 squared, because you know you have to do exponents first. So 15 plus 36. And then it's tempting to do 15 plus 36 before you do 36 divided by 4. Okay, but don't fall into the trap. You have to do division first. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. And then you can add it to 15 to be 24. All right. Some more complicated examples with parentheses. So here, One thing people might want to do is distribute the 7. Don't do that. You can see that in the parentheses, you can simplify this. 13 minus 8, you can go ahead and subtract that because it's inside of the parentheses. That would give you 5. And then 7 times 5 would be 35. Okay, part B. So work inside the parentheses. First, inside of the parentheses, you have other order of operations you need to concern yourself with, which would be the 3 squared. So you're actually going to do the 3 squared first. So copy down everything else. 24 minus 2, parentheses, 3 squared becomes 9. And then you work inside the parentheses. Do not do 24 minus 2 yet. You have to wait until the very end to do subtraction. So just copy everything else down. So 9 plus 1 is 10. Now, don't do 24 minus 2, do 2 times 10. So 24 minus 20, which is 4. Okay? Now look at part C. Part C, we have brackets, and then inside the brackets, we have parentheses. So we have to do the parentheses within the brackets first. So 8 minus 13 would be -5. I'm going to keep the parentheses around the -5. And then copy everything else. Now look very carefully. Within the brackets, you have 30 minus a -5. Remember that minus a negative is plus a positive. 2 negatives make 1 positive. So this becomes 2, and then you can do 30 plus 5 is 35. And then this becomes 70. So your final answer there was 70. All right, part D. So in part D, we have brackets, and then we have a 2 outside the bracket. We'll do that last, just like we did the 2 last in part C. In the brackets, you have a set of parentheses. So P, you do the parentheses first. 9 plus 3 is 12. Copy everything else. 2, bracket. This becomes 12. And then divided by 4. Okay, then you can do the 12 divided by 4, which is 3. And then 3 bracket is times 2 is 6. Okay. And then a few more different types of examples where you have to plug in a certain value for the variable. So here it says for part A. Also, make sure, maybe I haven't been reminding you very well, but make sure that you are labeling your examples. Okay, so these last examples were A, B, C, and D of example 2. Okay, evaluate expressions with grouping symbols. Make sure that you actually write all of this down. So take the time to do that so that you know actually what you're doing in that example. So when you get to your homework, you can more easily go back and look at examples while you're doing homework or an exit ticket. Okay, so for this one, so we're going to plug in the H for Y. So I'm just going to take a step, write everything down, and when I get to Y, I'm going to write 8. Okay, now for A, all we have is subtraction, so we're just going to work from left to right. So 12 minus 8 is 4, and 4 minus 1 is 3. For here, X is 4. So when I see 9X, that means 9 times 4. So I'm just going to plug it in right now. I'm not going to solve it yet. Just plug it in. And then in the denominator, we have 8 times 4 plus 2. So now when you're working with a fraction like this, you're going to want to work with just the numerator and then just the denominator and then simplify the fraction. So the numerator, 9 times 4 is 36. For the denominator, you want to add 4 plus 2 first because that's in parentheses. That would be 6. And then you have one more thing to do in the denominator. So 8 times 4 would be 48. Okay, then you have to think, how can you simplify 36 and 48? So they both go into 12. Their biggest common factor is 12. So if you take 12 out of 36, you get 3. If you take 12 out of 48, you get 4. So then the final answer is a fraction. Simplified fraction would be 3/4. You do want to make sure that your fractions are simplified when you are doing problems in your homework assignments. Okay, I'm going to try to move this video so I can see what the actual problem was. Okay, I'll slide it down there. All right, so for this last one, we're plugging in 3. So hopefully you get the idea from the last example. So you plug in 3, 10 times 3 for the numerator is 30. I'm just going to do this one real quick. And then if you plug in 3 for x, 3 plus 2 is 5, which would be 10. 30 over 10 is 3. Okay, so that's the end of this video. You will now take an exit ticket that's on Polaris and then complete the Edulastic assignments.